Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, open the meeting for the Fountain County Council, December 30th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. First thing on the agenda that I want to mention is Commissioner Shoemaker's mother passed away suddenly this past week, and I want to lift him up and offer our thoughts and to him and Dan and the rest of the family. So I thank for services today. So waiting for Tim, but our thoughts are with him. Okay, we'll start. We'll go back through this. We have the agenda. A motion. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Joint Commissioner Council meeting minutes for December 15, 2025. I'll make that motion. Second. Those in favor, say aye. 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 6-0. 5-0, I'm sorry. Yeah. 5-0. Report of collections is submitted. Motion is made to, is a motion to acknowledge the report of collections for the health department for November 2025.
I'll make the motion to acknowledge.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Okay, we'll get into our discussion items. Wayne, do you want to start for us?
I can. Do you want to talk about billing software or do you want to start?
You do whatever you want to do. I would say probably that's the best.
Okay, I put together a sheet, had it sent to you guys. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. That's the overview of everything to do with billing. Basically, right now, we're spending $8,100 for Insure software, and the avocation software that we use is going defunct tomorrow, so we can't bill after tomorrow. We're looking at AIM software and going with the clearinghouse. So total cost now is around 10 grand for the new two softwares to replace the ones that are going defunct. It'll be around 6,000. And then every year it'll be in the 4,000s because there's a $1,500 startup fee. So it's will drop to almost half of what we're paying now, plus it'll be new software. I can go over all the details, but it's all in there. It's their 1-year contracts for TriZetto and AIM. And then it takes for TriZetto, you have to give them 30 days notice after the first year to drop out of it. And then with AIM, it's 60 days after the first year. So I've sent the contracts to Ethan. I haven't had anything back. I've talked to his secretary and tried to put it on the burner list, and I haven't heard anything back. After tomorrow, we won't be able to bill at all. And I talked to AIM software. It takes up to 60 days to start billing again. So we won't be able to bill for 2 months, at least Medicaid. So Kat's gonna have to have a steep learning curve on the training and this little module she has to take. That's included in the training with the program. And that's the $1,500 that we have to pay the first year, but we don't have to pay it again. So overall, it's going to save us money. And it's like I said, the person of the avocation software, she passed away. So it's nobody's fault that it ended, but it's just she didn't leave way for it or continue on, I heard. So
Now, has everybody seen that? He presented it or I think Garth did at the joint.
Yeah. And we were told, weren't we, that There's money budgeted for next year, so even though not needing it.
Yeah, we're spending up to $8,000 to $10,000 now. Yeah, it's already budgeted.
Okay,
And the new one will be 5,900 for the first year and then 4,500 every year after that. Allowing for any kind of increase. I mean, there with no increase. Every year, of course, we're gonna increase it a little bit. Like I said, so we have $8,100 in there right now in the insure only. Line item, and that leaves us 35% safety factor.
Mhm.
Which I like because you don't know what's gonna happen and so there's like. Since we're not doing it till the 31st, there's gonna be $200 late charge to start up with AIM. But every year there's a $300 renewal fee, so kind of this is the same
Yeah.
going on after that, so. But I don't see any issue to or not do it besides the percent I was fine with it. Yeah. Just in the time I've had to look at, it's happy with it. I think it'll improve our numbers. Garth talked to a couple places. That they've been doing it for 7 years plus each, and they are having AIM. They don't have any problems with billing, so.
My opinion was, if you're happy with it, I think it'll do what you need to do, we have to have something, and if we can get rid of insure. Yeah, if we can get rid of insurance. There's no reason not to.
And Kat said
Yeah, something.
application software costs us, I found a payment for $250. But she said they can charge anywhere from up to 2,000 depending on billing, so it's a sliding scale. The only thing I could find was $250. So we're gonna go up there, but we're gonna go down in the clearinghouse and overall be about halfway in the future, so. And I put in there about how each claim is, and we do about 10% paper billing, so I estimated an amount. She thinks we do about 200 claims a month, and then 10% is paper or the other cost, because one's higher than the other. So electronic they do for cheaper than they do the paper version. So we're weaning away from the paper ones, and now keep cutting the cost down too. So
I don't know if you need a motion from us, since the money's already in the
I
line
don't have
item, and
contracts.
as long as, once Ethan says okay on the contract.
I'll keep pushing for that, but I don't know.
That's how I would look at it, yeah, I
I
think.
don't know if anybody has any other way to get hold of him, because like I said, after tomorrow, we can't bill, and if I can sign up tomorrow.
You've sent him emails, but.
Yeah, I sent emails, and I called the secretary and had her put shit up on the list, and I haven't heard anything back, so. I could have a wrong email, I could have some
He's on
issue on my end, but
He's on vacation this week. But he,
half the days are
He
working
might-
holidays and weekends, so.
yeah, he might answer email.
If you feel like he ought to look at it.
I think, well. I guess that's more the commissioner's call, it's contract, but
Yeah.
I would contact Aaron, KW, Tim,
And see what they want me to do, but you guys are okay with the money side of
the
it?
money side's fine, but I
Okay.
think you need them to go ahead and say. Move forward or not, or wait on Ethan.
Okay.
I'll do that when you get.
And Kat will probably be out of the hunt for the next 2 months, like I said, doing the training modules and stuff, she's gonna be full-time,
Sure.
trying to figure that out, so. You guys, do you have any other questions before I just do an overview or update? So in the last 15 days, we had a Christmas party, started on the 15th. There was nothing planned, so we had a Christmas party on the 19th. We've had pretty good turnout. I think the employees came together and pulled it all through, and my wife and everybody, so I don't know if you're interested in that, but it's a show of willingness to cooperate, I believe.
What was your attendance? They mostly there?
There was most people there, and a lot of people that couldn't make it contacted me and said, hey, I already had something with my family. Like I said, it was only the only weekend between Christmas and me starting, so there wasn't a lot of options. But I feel like everybody chipped in. We had tons of desserts, a good spread, so as soon as I get a PR person installed, I'll have pictures and stuff put out, try to keep us viable in the public eye. I did know that the new schedule, the overtime's a problem that was addressed. So I needed 4 more people. We were 2 short already. I need 2 more. So I put that on the top of the list. I went through Hire Right to check backgrounds, and I had them send me a list or an invitation that they sent to all the new hires. I saw that it was spelled wrong, Fountain County was spelled wrong on there. Spent several hours with a guy on the phone getting that taken care of, just so we look better. And I have 4 hires in the wind, 2 of them are starting this week. And 2 are farther down the road, but they're in the drug testing and stuff. 2 of them have PIs, which means we can do internal training. So all our CPRs are expired in January, which is not a lot of time. So with the PIs, they can teach us in-house. ACLs and PALS is also required. So instead of having to pay an outside source, we can internalize our training and save money there. I went to DISA to try to do drug testing. When I went to the website, we were locked out for a lack of payment for 338 days. I found a workaround through the emailing her, and it was a $64 bill that kind of got overlooked during a credit where they gave us a credit, and it kind of got a mishap. But it took 72 more days or hours to get back into the website, so it kind of slowed down the hiring process a little bit, but we worked through that. I did find out, or we do have the new schedule implemented since the 28th. So we had 1 week of the 32-hour overtime, which was not ideal, for one pay period. But we are now on the new schedule, which should save money, and the new partners, everybody seems to be open to the new partners that they have. I did go through a lab tech, and it's tracking our sick leave, personal time, and vacation now. It's always been able to do that. We've never done it, and I know people were getting extra days off and costing money. Now, when they go to take a day off, it says you have this many hours. I've implemented that. It's up and running and it's live now. Nobody seems to have a problem with that. So if it goes negative, then they will be denied for the time. And I put a notice out on that. We did find out that a lab tech is through TCP, and that's what you guys are going to do the time cards or the time clocks here through. Well, we've been paying for the time clock service at the EMS station for the last 6-10 years. I don't know. We tried it. We did a trial there years ago, and with our backup schedule, it didn't know when we'd come in and clock in. We weren't scheduled to work. It didn't know how to do the backup, so it got pushed aside, and I guess they never dropped the package. So I'm having people that are helping me and employees. We're working on getting that implemented there since we already paid for it, and we can run a concurrent test while you guys do a test here. Because I do think Lab Tech is a huge company and it does really good work for what we need for our schedule. So I think if we can get that up and running, we were looking at fingerprint scanners, but I don't know if they're compatible, but we can certify the computers that we already have, and those will be clock-in stations. And then we'll be able to generate reports from there, and we can kind of test it at the same time you're testing here, if you're okay with that. I did get a call yesterday from a guy from Samson Strap. I guess we got a demo, 30-day demo in 2023. And it's lifting equipment for patients. I did find the straps, and we do have them. They were never returned. A guy named Jefferson was a little upset. He doesn't know if we'll be able to do business with him in the future. But I did sort of run it down, and we do owe that. So that's something that's being paid backwards into the next budget, I guess. AT&T's, I got their bill, is $188 overdue. It's for the 5 hot spots in the trucks. They're sitting in the office right now, so they're not installed. That's a thing that Brad is supposed to be doing. I don't know when that can get on the list to be done, but we are paying for it, and it's not being used. Stryker sent me a bill for $33,000. It was past due by 61 days. I talked to Donnelly. I read it's part of the contract that they pay for that. So it's supposed to be billed to Donnelly. So I talked to Donnelly. They took credit for it, or said that they were supposed to pay it, 32,000 of it. And then the other is a wash because we have some credits. The credits have showed from 800 to 1,300 days past due, which I don't understand that. So I'm going to talk to Stryker today, and the other items we have that we're buying should get washed out with that credit. So it should.
Who's Donald?
Donnelly's the one that supplied our truck.
Oh,
So in the contract, they were supposed to put the power load in, and pay for it. So I didn't send out a check with that, but Donnelly accepted it. I'm gonna check with Stryker today and make sure that they're gonna move that to their, that they owe, not us. January, like I said, all CPR cards are out, and for all employees. But the new hires, I'm hoping I can use the new schedule with the floaters. So if I have a PI that can teach us, they can take one of their 24-hour days off and it can be covered by a floater that's already paid for. And then I can break them up into maybe 4 6-hour days, so they can do 6-hour training refreshers and still just make their same check. And that way it doesn't increase the budget, but we can keep our training. There's also a DEA license we have to get. We're not allowed to go through Leslie anymore. I got my first meeting. I was told that Leslie needed to meet with me because we were behind on our NARC inspection. She came up and did that. She asked me about this license. So I had to look into that. And like I said, this is the last 15 days. She did say we can send digital copies now, so that's a little easier than having to put the paper around but the DEA license is something I have to look into. We have to be able to store all our, we get the NARCs from her and the medications, and then we put them in the trucks, and that's all we're allowed to do. In the future, we won't be able to use hers as storage. We'll have to order the NARCs and have our own storage on site. And then divvy it out to the trucks from our own supply. So I don't know what's involved in that. I know they talked about it for 5 years now. I talked to the state. She said they're ready to solidify it in the next 6 months. I don't know if that anything's done. We have applications we have to put in. We have all kinds of work to do on that alone. And it's just a steep learning curve again for that. I was told payroll was glitchy. When I took over, people had been deleting numbers and just typing them in by hand and adding them up because they deleted the functions. It spent about 4 or 5 hours fixing all the payroll functions so that payroll actually works again. So it's a little easier to put it in. It doesn't take as many hours and it's a little more efficient. And then, like I said, it was due Monday. I don't have it done yet. I wasn't sure what is going on with that until after the meeting today. And my only other option or issue is Kat. She's at, I believe, 41 grand. She is a great biller. She brings in more than the last one. She's very efficient, but I don't know enough to know how much of the office work she can take over. But I do know that she can instantly make 30 grand more by going through the truck with a cert she already holds because she is an EMT. So she is interested in being an EMT. So I don't know if maybe just some kind of bump at some point because she does a very good job in billing, and it's anybody that can go somewhere else and make 30 grand instantly is hard to keep, but I do believe she's doing a good job, fortunately bringing in a lot of money. That is keeping the place going, so. Yeah, that's all I have. Okay, unless you guys have any questions. First time talker, long time listener, so I don't know if that's too much details.
You go fine. I guess not.
Lot to dissect and figure out, I'm sure, so thank you.
Jenny?
We received the invoice from Donovan's for our renovation with the $7,722.50. So we just need to figure out how we're gonna do that. Bill, if we used that previously, we think about the health fund at 11:59. So that's just what we're gonna discuss. I think we have to probably advertise for that for the next meeting.
We talked about, I mean, have you advertised yet? or-
Not yet,
Okay.
no, but I
So,
can.
Vote on just the January meeting.
Okay.
That's. Well,
That's all.
yeah.
I'll send that today.
Okay. Because we discussed that. so,
Yeah, we did receive it from both, so,
Okay,
Anything else?
nope, that is all.
So he was just right under his bid, so that's good.
Yeah, we were very pleased. He did a very good job. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, feel free to come check it out, but we're very pleased with it.
when do you think you'll be able to move in?
So right now we're kind of waiting on, the internet. When Brad contacted them, they said, yeah, after the first video. So we're kind of just waiting on that.
There's somebody that calls me.
Cause he
Yeah.
didn't send a letter. yet.
Aaron, wants to wait until everything is ready to go.
So, and then we have to wait
60 days.
Well, we have 3 months. We'll have to pay for 3 months, once being notified. So, and we would have to do that.
So he wants you moved in.
He wants everything to be ready to go to move in.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank you.
Sheriff.
I had me from Wilton to see what was going on with cameras in jail.
We approved that the last meeting.
Was it?
And then
Yeah. We got special ed.
Make sure. It's something we have to have.
Yeah, we took it out, special ed.
That's all I have.
Tiffany.
I'm just here about. We talked about stipend and I contacted State Board of Accounts about that. And that is not something that can be done. They sent me an email yesterday explaining what can be. I can share that.
Why don't you explain? So it would have to be in the salary. So. Explain what you saved, the changes you made, and that caused the savings and why. So
Well-
so it's on. Everybody's on the same page.
I think I've sent you emails on all of the figures and everything. I budgeted 8,500, or it was budgeted last year, 8,500 for part-time. I still have over 6,000 in that account. We cut back on a part-time person. The banks have been implemented, people that make payments. I look for that to even be more effective next year as we, Center Bank wants to join in on it too. So that'll cut back on a lot of people coming into the office and the need for extra people in the office. However, it does create more for me as far as going to the banks, picking up coupons. And I tried to do that on Saturdays simply because on Monday mornings, I want to be in the office when we're busy. I want to be there during our busy times. I also, with all the mail we receive, people send in all different things with incorrect payment amounts. I'm trying to cut back on surplus, so if they are sending us too much money, I'm trying to get in contact with them, send it back so we can get the correct amount in, so we don't have these large amounts of surplus sitting out there for most of the year till after settlement's done, to be able to get that money reconciled. So just figuring out the problems in the mail and everything else. Rita came in part-time this year, but we just didn't need her as much. And a lot of things she doesn't feel comfortable working. If there's a problem, she kind of wants to step back from it and just hands it to me. So being at the counter and waiting on people, which I want to do, I don't get to work on that stuff during normal hours because I'm at the counter. Yeah, so I've put in just a lot of extra time doing it. And I'm not complaining about it because I want to do that, but it is a lot. I don't know if that explains it.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's your job, obviously,
Right,
but implementing a new system to save $6,000
right.
shouldn't go unnoticed, I guess, and I think pointing that out is a benefit to you, so.
And next year, our budget now for part-time, I think is 4,000, and I don't look to use even that next year, so
The savings.
I'm just hoping that helps.
Okay, any other questions for him? Autumn.
So each of you, I laid a paper with covering real property. Carol had questions last month, I believe, about the solar. She wanted to know about the personal property. the solar company. So again, I broke it down to show, what those were. There were some questions about what the taxes are for 26 or 25/8/26. However, the rates are not in. I contacted the auditor's office. Those won't be available until February, is what I was told, so I can't calculate what the tax revenue on that will be, but based on 2024 rates is what I used. Troy and Petersburg are the two townships that's gonna see the increase to land based on solar. For Troy, it's a little over 25,000, or 125,000, and a little over 100,000 for Petersburg, so that's gonna be the tax revenue for the solar. I explained there was 35 parcels in Crossroads. 10 of those parcels are still in ag, so their rates have not been changed. I also explained that they filed an appeal, so the ones that were solar. We gave a $7,000 rate for the appeal for commercial usable undeveloped to settle that appeal. So the ag rate for 25/8/26 was 2,120 per acre. The solar rate was $13,726. And again, for those appeals, we settled with 7,000. Next year's solar rates for 26/8/27 is gonna go up to $26,141 an acre. My understanding, the reason they've increased that so much is because all the solar companies in the state are appealing their real property tax. And what happens in the appeal is that maybe, let's say it's a parcel of 50 acres. But only 25 acres of that's gonna be under solar panel. They contracted that whole parcel, but only part of it's under panel, so they're getting, I don't wanna say getting away with, they're paying less than what the county's expected. So what the state's decided to do is increase that amount based on that data that they're finding from appeals around the state. So it's likely any more solar will get in, they're gonna continue to build their real property taxes. A lot of the counties are moving to add into their ordinances where they can't appeal once they get the permit in. They're setting ordinances that if it's the whole parcel's counted as solar, not part of it. There's a lot of different things happening around the state with the counties on the solar permitting, so. I think it's really important that the planning commission stay up on that to understand what's going on. What other counties are doing to keep solar companies from appealing. So you're gonna get less revenue than expected by them doing that. As far as the personal property, there were a lot of questions on that. I did say they turned in personal property for 25/8/26. They did, but their assets for that year were 0. So personal property, it's what's on the land as of January 1st of 2025, so no solar was there. They were just working the ground. So that's why their assets for that year is 0, because it wasn't there. The value of their assets, like I explained last time, each year that's confidential, so whatever their equipment cost is. It's confidential, the only thing that we can share or that's public record is the true tax value after the depreciation. They have until May 15th, 2026 to turn in their personal property this year. So. There should be payments for personal property for the next taxing unit. I did add the depreciation pool, so over to the right for 26/8/27. I looked at that form. There's 3 different forms a company can use. I'm not even sure if I can tell you what form they use, so I just listed all of them so you have an understanding of how those pools are calculated. If it's a 103 or 102. They have 4 different pools they can put, and it depends on the life of the equipment. So I can't even tell you which pool it is. I don't know what the life of those panels or anything's gonna be. They could split it up into multiple pools. I really don't know. But pool 1 is a year life of 1 to 4, pool 2, year life 5 to 8, pool life 3 is 9 to 12, and pool 4 is 13 and older. So the column next to it, that's to true tax value. If it was pool 1, their first year, their true tax value is 65% of what their asset is. And it goes all the way down to 20%. So after the 4th year, all the equipment would depreciate down to 20%. If they're in pool 2, it will depreciate down to 15%, pool 3, 10%, and if they happen to be in the 4th pool, all their assets can depreciate down to 5%. So I think that was one of the biggest questions on the personal property is, you know, obviously they could depreciate it down to almost nothing. The county's gonna get minimal money from that once it hits that. The short is a little different. It's not into pools, it's done by year, so the year that the equipment's bought, it goes from 40% down to 10%. I know there were some questions that I think were a little confusing. I think a lot of times it's hard for people to understand. We got real property, we got personal property, and then you throw in talk of abatements and public utilities. On the back, I kind of broke it down to kind of explain how the process works. So the assessed values is what comes for me. The only thing our office typically does is we assess the county assessor does the mobile home assessment, the personal property assessments, and the real property assessments. The state does the public utility assessments. So our county, I don't see those. We get a form. The state tells us what that amount is. I have no idea how they assess that. But we get a final value. It goes to the auditor's office. When we roll our values to the auditor's office, they take our values, the public utility values, and then that's where they add their deductions, exemptions, and any abatements. So if there was an abatement for personal property, it's taken at the auditor's level. From there, and this is not my office, so I'm very limited in knowing the knowledge and how this works. But the budgets are then turned into the auditor and to the council. And my understanding, I'm not sure municipals, do they turn it into the county or do they send those to the state? So the budget, we got the county, obviously sends all their budgets to the auditor. The municipals, towns and cities and schools sends it to the state. I'm sure we get values at the end that's added into our budget, but I don't think we typically do the work on that at the county level. We send all that information to the state. The state will certify our budgets. And they'll take our budget, our net assessed values after the deductions and exemptions. And then they'll calculate those tax rates and it'll come back to the county. And then it comes back to the money, we collect the money goes to the state, and then it comes back to the county for the settlement. So a lot of that, I really have no knowledge on how some of that works, but that's typically the process of it. I get a lot of questions on how we assess on the other side of mobile homes. We assess those, we have software, it's JD Power, similar to Kelly Blue Book. So we enter in the age, the make of the mobile home, and it tells us what that value is. That's how it's assessed. Personal property is all self-assessment, so the owner turns that in. They tell us what they purchased the equipment for. They determine the pools that it goes in, and that's how that's determined. The real property, obviously, land values. The county has a land order that we do every 4 years. for certain things like the commercial unusable rates and the excess res. Market land study, so a lot of times, you hear a lot about market. What land's selling for, they do studies on that to determine if land values have got to go up, and of course, the state sets the rates on that. So, the residential dwellings are a little different. We start all the costs at replacement cost. We use tables. That is set by the state, what it would cost to rebuild something based on its age, its size. And then dwellings also have a market ratio study that we do every year based on the prior year sales that we apply to the homes. And that's just the dwellings that get that market rate. Any other dwelling, garages, ag buildings, those are just straight replacement cost value. And then of course, public utilities, I have no idea how to do that. So we're gonna start getting a lot of questions on that. I can tell you, traditionally, those cost tables they were recalculated every 4 years. And when I had Kills last year, I was kind of thrown into it. That was the understanding. It's every 4 years, those cost tables change, and that's what I told people. However, the state decided because sales are skyrocketing and we can't even put a new house on and touch what it's selling for. They decided to do a 2-year adjustment on those cost tables. So last year it went up quite a bit on the cost tables. It's gonna go up again on cost tables this next year. When those cost tables go up, the market ratio should come down. Because if you think of the calculation, when they do that, it's the value divided by the assessed value divided by sell value gives you a ratio. So when your assessed values go up, that market value should come down. Not the news I'm going to tell everybody about. And then of course, when you talk about your assessed values, how you're taxed, it's your assessed value minus your depreciation, minus your exemptions, deductions, and abatements. You divide that by 100 and then you take it times the tax rate. So whatever the budget determines those tax rates are, that's how it's assessed. That being said, the ratio study, which is very important, it kicks off the first of the year. So we have to do that through teams with the state. I've been asking to have teams loaded since July, and I still don't have it. We're under very extreme time crunch after the first of the year. I know there's been some issues with licensing, getting it set up, verifying that we're a government entity for them to get that loaded on my computer. I know it was paid the 1st of December, wired, and I still don't have access to that. If our ratio study, if I can get on to do our ratio study, the first of the year is very tight for the assessor's office. So once that ratio study is approved, we move directly into printing our Form 11s, and we're usually waiting for that like by the day to try and get that off in time to meet our time requirements. So I'm a little worried that I don't have access to Teams. Like I said, it's been 6 months. Our IT's been working on it and I still don't have it. Everything in the county starts at my office. So when you go into timing delays and missing our deadline due to IT, I can't get Form 11 out. I can't roll to the auditor on time, and it could cause problems with us certifying our values in the state, which will affect all our budgets and money coming in for settlement in the next year. I know that he's been short-staffed, and I know there's a lot. He runs around and puts out lots of fires. I would like to request that we implement some sort of a ticket tracking for IT. What I'm getting is a lot of issues with IT and getting things done timely. I know it's easy to forget when you can't follow up on some of that stuff.
Has this been brought up to the commissioners? So I think
Yes.
that's where it needs to go. I don't think we've.
Oh, that
Well,
commissioners.
my main question with you is if I can't get things resolved and get my IT things done that will obviously cause an issue to the county,
Mhm.
I need to be able to hire somebody else for my IT to make sure I get little things like this taken care of. So obviously the budget's done. What do I need to do to request for additional money to have IT support? If I've got to hire them.
See, the commissioner or maybe two have been told about it and then made a contact for him to get this done, he hadn't done it. Just to be blunt, so there's a problem.
I don't wanna be pushy about it.
No, I understand.
No, I-
Make sure.
I explained this summer how important it was, and I wasn't in a rush for it, that I needed it by the end of the year. It's the last day of the year, I don't have it. I've already been approached by DLGF that I'm not in the teams group. I know it's a licensing thing, I know it takes time. But I need it. It's gonna be detrimental to the whole county if I can't meet my deadlines. And get things done by state statute. So
Have you reached out or looked into other options of who could help you with this?
other options as in,
Other IT
no,
people that even have the ability to do that?
but that's what I wanna know, if I need to go that option, what do I need to do? It's obviously gonna, I don't know what's gonna.
There's a place in Carville called Edge Technologies right there on Market and Whitlock Street. Might want to check there. That's not kind of the county, sheriff's office uses there.
That would
Not
be-
sure if there's-
What's that called?
Edge Technology.
Or check with the other assessor offices locally and see who they've used to set these things up, if they have an internal IT person or they've used outside sources.
And I know there's a software, Smart Sheets, I used it at the previous place I worked.
Mhm.
We could build dashboards and ticket tracking, if anybody had an IT issue. They submit something electronically, and they could track it, know how long it was open. I believe the courthouse previously had something like that, where they tracked tickets of open IT items. You know, I don't know what it would take as far as getting something like that set up. You know, I'm not saying he does poor work, because he does good work, it's just, I know he's a little, spread pretty thin. But I can't wait for 6 months
I understand.
to get software program loaded to my computer. And what I'm hearing, I'm not the only office with issues like that. So I just wanna remedy it.
I think you need to bring it to the commissioners. Their January meeting. Now, as far as you get somebody else, an additional, I don't think we can do additionals till after February.
Right.
So that's first, and you have to go to commissioners first for additional, you get somebody else, they have to. Approve it and then move it to recommendation to the council to fund it, so.
Okay. The commissioner with the additional.
And then it comes to us in order to.
My suggestion is, as the sheriff said, we have this edge. Get a price and get your legwork done there and then.
I mean, it might be a minimal cost just to do small things.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's what we need to know.
I know he's running around putting out a lot of fires, in other departments, and we tend to fall towards the bottom. But like I said, this is detrimental to the county for me to have approval for our ratio. So, all right.
all I have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, on the agenda, now we have discussion on salary ordinance. So. Work on that a little while.
Well, ones in question are the treasurer and the ambulance, correct?
Yes.
With changes need to be made there. And we're waiting on the holiday pay thing for the sheriff, so that.
Yeah. Well. We set the salary ordinance. Not the commissioners. And we've worked on this. Budget and this salary since. July, in August at least. Had several meetings and we came down to the conclusion with what we've got. As of right now. And I'm not really for changing it at this point, not to say that we couldn't talk about it. And do an addendum. Like we did with the ambulance 2 years ago. And the sheriff's department 2 years ago.
But you can't, on an elected
Yeah,
official, do an
I-
addendum and let it be.
Right, so I agree with that, there's been way too many changes and adjustments in the ambulance situation department as a whole. In a very short amount of time for us to fully take that in and, change salaries, I think at this time, but. However, I think on the treasurer, we've been hashing that back and forth for 2 months. And if we don't do something, then we have to wait a full year. And I think it's a shame to ignore the $6,000 in savings for,
Since she's an elected
In-
official, right?
yeah,
Yes.
for a process that she implemented. Now, the budget's been approved. So that would mean we'd be short in that category, but it would mean towards the end of next year, we'd have to do a transfer if there's money left in another line then or an addition. So I think since a stipend isn't available as an option, I would suggest it, increasing that salary by the $2,000.
You making that motion.
I would make a motion to increase treasurer's salary up to 51,350. Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I don't want other discussion.
And that figure again is what, 51?
51,350.
51.
And we're taking that out of part-time.
Yeah.
Well, I think we leave it for now
Okay.
and then,
Because the budget's
as the budget's been
Yeah,
set.
good for it.
And then next year, when we get to that point, you will have to do a transfer, hopefully if available.
Okay.
And that would be an additional.
if she doesn't have a savings in part.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to increase the treasurer's pay to $2,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried 5-0.
But I would be in agreement with you that the other ones, until we can sort through this and see how things are going and
Well,
what's needed, those can be changed. If we see that, yeah. But I think right now,
what I'd like to see in the ambulance is like the secretary. I think we're doing away with the assistant director, right?
Correct.
So, okay, so if we do that, we're giving more duties of the assistant director to the director and to the secretary, then I think we need to get a list of what jobs are being increased, and then we can look at transferring some of that salary assistant director to those two. We can do a salary adjustment anytime during the year. But we need to know what additional duties are being transferred, and then we can look at that. So I mean, I'd say we leave the assistant director right now the way it is, till we figure out what changes are gonna be done. Or we really don't know. I mean, we've given some proposals, but
I still think there's a lot of moving parts and trying to
yes,
go through the adjustments and.
we need to look at that, so we're gonna have enough money in health insurance. Because we've got new employees now. Are they all taking health insurance?
Not all of them are.
Okay, we just need to know how that's gonna affect our budget also, because we only budgeted for the number we're expecting. If we have new employees that are going on it, then we need to probably gonna have to do adjustments at some point.
I'd rather ask any questions from them.
Go ahead.
So going down to the, get rid of the overtime, going down to 2 days. The budget was turned in for what was a year ago, correct? Right, so November, the same budget was turned in by Garth for what we were doing for the 24 hours of overtime, the long piece, right?
Right.
So that's going away, correct?
The budget's been approved, nothing to go about that.
That's my point.
But if that overtime stuff goes away,
That's like keep saying it's in that overtime.
there's gonna be, right, and
Which then
if
takes
we
care
are
of some of
changing
those.
salaries and things, we're probably gonna have to move money, but it's already been budgeted. But we'll have to amend salary ordinance sometime during the year, and then we're gonna have to transfer money probably in the budget.
Yeah, so Jeff said earlier, just a little bit ago about you don't want to really make any changes, that you set the salary ordinances that the commissioners don't. What does that mean for the pay for EMTs versus everything else? I guess that was.
Whatever, Aaron. Whatever Aaron fixed up. Because of the hours, right? That's where you're in, because you've already started implementing them, right?
The 28 goes to the new schedule. With it, so nobody gets more than 48 hours now.
Right.
I mean, my question was, you were talking about the salary ordinances, and you started the conversation of how you don't really want to make any changes. At our last meeting that we were here with the joint meeting, Aaron and y'all said that this is what we're going to do with it. Is that the same? Is that, you talked about getting rid of the advanced, there was no going to be no more advanced. All EMTs, getting paid this, paramedics getting paid that. Is
No,
that-
this salary ordinance would leave the advanced separate from the intermediate and the EMT beats.
Although that.
Because
Told differently the last meeting.
no,
No.
last meeting, we didn't make a decision. That's why we're having
That's
this
why we're having it
meeting,
today.
because it was kind of thrown at us and we didn't
Yeah.
know anything
We
about it.
started calculating things and
Until this day.
And I think, one thing you brought up the overtime and that amount that was put in the budget with the old schedule back in July, August. But what that doesn't take into account is any additionals we had to do throughout the year to cover, additional overtime over the last couple of years.
Well, with
So-
the new schedule.
It should be okay. And that's the
It's
hope.
Not gonna be.
That's,
no,
and that's why we.
I mean, because you guys have known for a year and a half about the bleeding out the back door from our last regime. And done nothing about it now.
No, wait a minute.
Wait, first they're gonna pay the price for it?
That's enough.
I think I
Enough.
talked to Kelly and I shared these numbers with the council and, she can't be here today, but asked me to share some of this because the complaints been brought to me and others, I'm sure, that we're not supporting the ambulance department, we're not supporting the sheriff department. They think we're taking away, because maybe one or two meetings that people listen to or attend, so. I wanted to point out and share with everybody that, I haven't been involved for a really long time in the council. But I went back in the time that I have been involved from 23 to 26, and we have said yes a lot. We have tried to improve services. We have tried to improve salaries. I looked at bare bone budgets, not including any additionals that we've done, possibly some savings in some categories. No cars, no additional money for pensions. From 23 to 26, the sheriff department budget has went up $500,000. So obviously we have increased things. The ambulance budget has went up 1.2 million. Again, that doesn't include several other things that have went up also. I didn't dig into it that deeply, but I guess I do want the public to know. Public safety services, we all think that's important, and we want to do what we can, but the money isn't endless. We still have to be financially responsible. Budgets are important to me. We've got to balance, what we can provide with what we have.
I don't know anything about the complaints. I do think that you guys have always, or tried to provide for us, but I don't have a complaint with that. But just for the record, some of that was when we switched from half to half time,
Correct.
which was not a way to pay. So I think we've gotten away with it so cheap for so long that when we changed, it became a shell shock, but it's kind of what it costs now, so.
Agreed, and that's why we did it.
Right,
But I think to do another jump again is a little bit of a shock to us, and we're concerned about the budget.
Right, the jump is to try to get rid of overtime because you're paying somebody 1-to-1 now instead of 1 to 1.5. So even if the budget's gonna be close to what it was, it is more functional. You're getting 1 hour's worth of work for 1 hour's worth of pay, even if you're paying about the same. So instead of paying the 1.5 time for the same amount of work. So it might not be the numbers coming down, but I know there won't be any additionals. I know this year we're turning back $212,000. Because I didn't go on a spending spree and try to use up everything like everybody else does because it's part of the problem in America, all the way to the top. There's 212,000 coming back to you. Half of that is payroll. I don't know what kind of additionals you got. I asked a million times. This excess overtime on top of the scheduled overtime, no one really even knows what it cost last year, which I can't even fathom because everything goes out of the courthouse. So it has to be known by somebody somewhere. So when I say we can do it for this, and they say, well, that's barely less than the old budget. But he was here with all the additions. So it's not fair to compare us to the old budget when he wasn't even in the old budget. I believe, I don't know. I have limited ability to look at anything as far as that goes, but if he was above the budget, anything above the budget will not be used this year. So like I said, the 212 is what I'm turning back. I don't necessarily think, I guess that's not an intelligent thing to do or to say out loud in this kind of setting. But I hope it doesn't get cut for us next year because we may need it. I just didn't know what he was planning on spending on. I believe it was the Stryker contract, which I believe everybody's against. So that's where that money, I think, was mixed in to be used if he ever got approved vote on that. So I don't feel that it's necessary to use that, so I turned back. I didn't know he had a big order out there. I didn't want to spend something and then not have enough. For the next year, which we will do a budget, and if I can move operations to payroll, we will come in on budget. I'll tighten down on operations to make the payroll work. Because I added up kind of what it's gonna cost for our payroll this year, and I think just trying to add all the different categories, we have like $700 extra, which probably got blown in this first week when we were on the old schedule.
So I'm gonna have to move money into there, but I can take our own money into there. Because there's not gonna be any additionals needed, so that's, I mean, that's what I'm working on, that's what I'm good at, and that's what's gonna happen, so. As far as the payroll being short, it might be, but it can come from our own internal operations, not from additionals.
We're not saying that we won't do the A and B the same. We just, at this point, December 30th, we've worked and we got it set. This is where we're
I
going.
understand what you're saying, I'm just telling you that we were told 3 weeks ago that this is the way it was gonna be, because there was such an uproar going on with the 12-hour block and all that other. Aaron said that I can save twice as much money by going to the 12 hour.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion between all of us, including Kelly Carlson, and everything was already set. And then he came in here, the last joint meeting, you all talked about where you're gonna take this money to do this from the overtime, because there's not gonna be that overtime that it used to be. Now all of a sudden it's different.
No,
For
because
3 weeks.
because we sat there and looked at it and we were scribbling, had our calculators out and everything else at the last minute. And I finally said, we can't do this tonight. Didn't I? We can't do this tonight. So we decided to have another meeting and this is what the resolution came up. But I'm not saying we can't. We can go and do an addendum and like we did the last 2 years ago when you guys got that time and a half.
I think I feel like in my time, we've gotten into too many situations by approving things because someone tells us we're going to do this. It's going to happen. And then 3 months, 6 months down the road, well, I forgot about this or I forgot about this. And I'm not accusing you guys of that's going to happen, but we want to see it happen, is what we're saying.
My only issue with that is that you're trying to get in by today because it's gotta be paid now, except. The people have already worked for 2 weeks with what they were told they were getting, so kind of Kelly and Aaron kind of entered into a contract with the workers. They're gonna make this, they worked for 2 weeks and now we gotta pay it, so that's our deadline, but that's not the deadline of them agreeing to work for that. You see what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of a lag when it's paid and when it's earned, so they've already earned that. And then not, I'm not trying to get more money out of it, and I wanna wait till you guys say, this is what the payrolls are gonna be before I have an issue with it. But I do have an issue with working 90 hours a week to fix this place for, the same pay as someone who had an assistant. And didn't keep it all in line, you know, what I mean? Like I have an issue with that, I have an issue with if they were told that they're getting this. And then they've rallied, we had their Christmas party. They're all like, okay, I was mad for a while, I lost $10,000, 14,000, some of them. They're ready to rally and like, let's fix this place. We have some hope now. This is gonna decimate them. You're going to spend the 62 grand that you're saving in overtime when 6 people quit today. So I just want that out there. And when I have to go back, I'm gonna be the bad guy for you. So I was tempted, I called every one of you last night, I had her put out emails, nobody would answer, it went directly to voicemail, whether that's just an odd coincidence or was for a reason. I wasn't able to get an idea of what's going on in this meeting. If it was up to me, I'd have every employee, every EMT sitting here right now, and you can tell them. I understand where you're at, but I understand where we're at. I just got a rally, I just got this momentum moving again, and it's gonna decimate them. So that's another 10 grand that they just got through. Here's your losing 14 grand, now there's a holiday, now before the next holiday, they're gonna get, and I understand the position you're in. So I'm not trying to be, you have always gone out of your way to help us. I understand that you've also. Sometimes even in the meeting with our payouts, like this, the first number cruncher that comes in here and sees this overtime. I told everybody when we left that meeting, when we got our raise, and could be paid overtime. Don't buy a car, don't buy anything, because the first number cruncher that comes in here and sees overtime is $600,000. Overtime is cuttable. I mean, it's assumed, why is a business paying overtime? It's a punishment on the company for having bad staffing. That's what overtime is. And if you're up at 600,000, you have really poor staffing issues. So
it's just that. I told people not to buy that, it lasted 3 years, and I couldn't believe it, because it was so inefficient. But I don't know that the timing now is just gonna decimate people, because there's literally, I talked to people and I said, so what if they left you at 63? What if it was 63? Not that it's gonna change, and multiple of them can't make it on 63. So there's people that I'm not gonna have.
The 63 is if you don't take any time off, correct? Is that correct?
You lose the 8 hours if there's, because it's 48 hours, so you lose your overtime, the 8 hours it's gonna.
Can we have an example of a paramedic who last year's budget was 103,000, in that number, I don't know exactly. But was only making 80 at the end of the year, because they took their time off.
And I'm not trying to talk you out of money, I have Josh Whittington does all kinds of stuff for the supplies. Nikki does supplies, these are all, they took a $10,000 cut, $14,000 cut, and I said, okay, everybody has to have an extra job. Like I said, there's gonna be a PR person, they're gonna get on Facebook, but they're getting paid all day to push us in the Facebook or whatever they have to. There's gonna be a person that does ESO audits, that is my job, Jeff's job, or the assistant's job, that I can't do because I don't have time. So I'm gonna push it off onto, hopefully one of these new hires is a pretty intelligent person. And I'm hoping he has a lot of back-end knowledge with ESO, our program, so he can start doing audits. But I'm pushing a lot of work off onto the employees that just lost 14 grand. Bartek does a lot with, she's having issues with internal IT problems. Bartek has a lot of he made himself useful for these problems. So anytime I have some kind of problem like that, one of my options was if I need help with, scheduling is a full-time job. People call him all day and the night. He's taking care of scheduling for us. I got the vacation numbers rolled up, so we're trying to get the savings costs in there. We got a bill for 3 ALS calls to Warren County. Well, no other county charges us if we call for a medic. That's $1,500. I called Jean. She dropped the $1,500. We do P-tests at Warren County. They're $300 to $500. Well, I've been working with the health department to try to get an issue there where we can just buy those stuff that for self-tests. We also do random tests every year and no one knows why. So I called Ascension, and it's because back 3 administrations ago, we had an issue with the NARCs. So for 10, 20 years, we've been doing this tests every 30 months, and we don't send them to nobody. So I looked at back at the last 344 tests, and they've been positive. We've never had an issue with anything like that. So I talked to Jane, and she's like, I don't know why you guys are still doing that. So that's $1,500 a year at the visa rates, let alone if we go to the health department, we won't have to. So I'm planning on dropping the random test because nobody else that does it. Sheriff's department don't do it, the dispatch don't. So there's all kinds of cuts we can make, but like with Bartek, one way to work around the budget is if I give you 1 day off and have you work 3 days in the office to do the scheduling and to help with the IT stuff, it stays in the budget and it's covered by a floater who's already paid, so it doesn't increase the budget.
Wayne, what's aggravating to me is in November, I started asking a commissioner, what are we gonna do? Because we were talking hospital too. Didn't get any answer. Started asking in December. Vague answers. I'm not greasing anybody, but that's aggravating for me.
I have no ability.
We are the ones that said the salary ordinance. We are the ones that need to be in the know, and we want.
That's how, Jeff, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I apologize for saying what I said, but we as employees have felt the same way that you do too. So for a year and a half, well, when you give the raise, I was sitting in that meeting, Denise was there also, and so was Kelly. And we both said, if you don't do something about the schedule, then this is not gonna work.
I know.
So.
We thought something was going to be done with it.
Exactly.
because that's
Yes,
what
it was $500 grand. I said, we got $500 grand. I completely and utterly agree with you wholeheartedly that I've sat back and watched this mess unfold and going, I've sent all of you, I've talked.
I've talked to both of you and
Yeah.
on
I've
that.
talked to multiple people sitting right up here about those situations for a year and a half. That's why I'm frustrated.
I know.
Is because I presented schedules that show that people were.
Yeah.
At work, who were not at work, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That just money was going out the back door.
Yeah.
And there's a gigantic group of people now and rallied behind him recently. And what we were told is what I got a problem with is, I was told 3 weeks ago, this is what it's gonna be from the president of this council and from the president of the commissioner. The commissioner also said, and by the way, the rumors floating around and people going around calling each one of you or whoever and saying, oh, the advance does so much more than what an EMT can do. Has anyone went to the state website, and looked it up? Has anyone went to Wayne and asked for the protocols that says what they can actually do and what they can't do? Because I have, I can show you, I've expressed it by facts, not by feelings of what it is. I've expressed that with the 2 commissioners, 3 tried, but the 2, they agree. Aaron said, and he gets to choose that, I believe, that the advance is going away. Him and KW both said that. So, I'm just telling you what, and I feel for those guys. I think there's 2 of them that, or maybe 3, that should be took care of, for sure, because they have been busting their butts as advanced providers. But I'm just aggravated for a year and a half. I've tried to reach out to lots of you people, and I've got good reception, so I'm not complaining from all of you. But it has been bleeding out the back door, big time. It's made us all look bad. And now, like he said, we've rallied behind, there's been some people that have been very upset and now are not. And we've been told this. And they're all good with it.
And I'm not here to argue if the advance need more or the advance, we're never gonna get more than that. But the EMTs were brought up. My whole point is that the commissioner, president, and council president said that's what they're getting paid. That's all I'm arguing on.
They can't say that.
No, I mean, it is the council decides, but I have my notes from our joint meeting. And I thought we all agreed that we were gonna change the EMT advance. We were gonna change that to 12 people, do away with the EMTB. And the paramedics, we were gonna change from 10 to 12. That's what I had in my notes.
Right.
And then we were going to lower the overtime pay.
So
So I
what-
thought we had all agreed on that.
That's, I guess that's where I was at.
I thought that's what.
That's what the discussion was had, and that's when we said,
Yes.
well.
And we said, let's bring this up, but
You guys even talk about where you would pull the money out of the overtime
Yeah,
that we were abusing, or that was being abused, not we were abusing.
So it ended up, we reduced the overtime to 458,000. I think, wasn't it, Dudley?
I have 468, 444. But I mean, we absolutely have to change this, and we've got new people. Because we agreed on paramedics 12, or I thought we all had agreed on that, and if you've already hired. Our salary ordinance as it is only 10, and we've got 12 paramedics.
Well,
Right,
yeah,
you will
start this week.
Yes, starting this week, but. You know. My opinion is that
Go ahead.
I thought we already discussed this.
Yeah.
And everyone was in agreement. I thought the commissioners were in agreement that that's what we were gonna do. And, I looked back to see that on my tower ordinance today, and it's not on there, and I apologize, because I've been out of it for a week from surgery, and I haven't.
Haven't we somewhat
Full mind.
tried not to bother you too?
Well, I've tried to not bother you guys, but I've tried to get answers to, like, so I can create, because I don't know what's going on, I don't know.
So, what do you two think? You want to go ahead and do the salary ordinance and giving them all A's?
Well, that's what we talked about at the last meeting, was going to 466.
That's what we talked about.
And I just want to, with the director pay, it's to the medic pay, to state the medic pay is a $10,000 loss already for me. I know they tried to find a director about a year ago, there's nobody that really wants to do it. My own complaint is to drop down again is a $20,000 cut, plus my PTO time, since I work 5 days a week now, is immediately cut by 66%. So all my built up PTO becomes worthless basically, because I have to take 5 days to get a week off. Also on top of the $20,000 cut pay. And that's where I was standing with that, and that's what was offered, that's why I went with that, but as far as what you guys do is up to you.
Well, that's why I
I'd like to
suggested
look at-
the secretary, director, and assistant director. Till we see what you're gonna do, what job duties you're gonna transfer, that can always be changed. Those I think need to be done just the way they are right now until we find out what job duties you're going to be taking on from the assistant director, and then we can transfer money into director,
That correlates directly to the hours that I work.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All this on.
But I think what we need to do is look at the EMTs and paramedics and the overtime, and I think we need to do what I thought we agreed on at the last meeting.
Okay,
What we talked about.
Yeah,
we talked about it.
and Aaron and AW were here, and I thought we were agreeing with that.
So we're changing it. The salary ordinance.
I thought we were changing the EMT advance. The 12.
Bob Gomez, 55,594.
I have $67,128.
Say it again, no.
My notes say $667,128.
Yeah.
And then we do away with the EMTs, fees, and take that out. And the paramedic from 10 to 12. Which would make that budget line item $860,705. I don't have anything in my notes about part-time, but I saw something about changing that to 55.
From 110 to 55.
55. That,
If somebody takes a Wednesday off, if there's a short week, it'll have to be covered by part-time because all the floaters work that Wednesday.
But that ought to be
But
enough.
besides that, there shouldn't be any other need for that. I mean,
okay, so 55 should cover it,
Is that
or?
enough?
I have nothing to reference it off of. So
Okay.
I mean, I can pull from operations wherever I need to, if it's allowed. Try to get you a better number.
So what are we taking the part or the overtime down to
Uh,
cover all this?
Well,
I have at least 468, 417.
okay,
Okay.
468, 444, so I don't know what,
Okay, so we need.
it's somewhere in that range.
Right.
We could just make it 468,000. The overtime.
Yeah.
So the overtime,
Sure, okay, about 468.
468.
Is that gonna be doable? Well, I think that's what needs to be approved if we're gonna do the others, so we don't do this, but like, it's not.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah, we have to.
We'll have to wait. Okay.
I didn't come prepared for that. I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I didn't come
That's
prepared.
I
fine.
think that's what we have to do.
We have to do that.
Yeah. So we're changing the.
So Kim, you got all this?
I think so.
So the EMP Advanced media would be 12 of them at 55,594. Which would be 667, 128. Paramedics from 10 to 12 at 71, 725, which would be 860,705. So with that increase, that would have the overtime then from 675 to 468. I don't know about overtime because I didn't.
That's what I was told from Kelly.
I talked to all the employees and I'm like, if we can stay under 6 people off a week, then it's all internal. And Wednesdays are immediately part-time.
So
So
Wayne, you'll have to ask for additionals. You're not gonna get by without going here without doing it. I just think, but I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
But this will be what everyone's expecting,
Yeah.
right? We'll pass them,
Yeah.
what we discussed the other day. Okay.
I haven't had a chance to look at it. I haven't been any part of the budget at all. I just started 15 days ago. But yeah, yes, those are the numbers you're telling me. If they add up to whatever you say, then
That
yes.
is what we discussed at the joint meeting and what all the employees are expecting.
Right.
Okay. Then. You want to do that?
Okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the salary ordinance.
I don't think.
You don't think you have to know?
You'll have to.
I think I-
We'll see, but I mean,
Yeah.
huh? It
We'll
is
see.
what it is, Wayne.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do, you do. I mean, that. You have to try to do your best.
Jeff,
You gotta throw a challenge. You gotta throw the pizza party into your.
I don't think we can come up with over 200,000 somewhere else.
And one other thing I want to bring up is, for basically the whole county is going to be dealing with a shortfall possibly in 27, 28 with SB1. The governor's want to get rid of the property tax. So how the hell are we going to have revenue? And we'll have to do lit, I suppose. That's what it's looking like, huh?
Income
Income
tax.
tax. So be prepared. That could happen.
And just remember, your budget is not gonna match the salary ordinance, so we're gonna have to do.
I thought payroll sitting waiting.
We'll
I
have
wasn't sure how to finalize this, so
We'll have to transfer money from your budget line items, like we'll have to, the EMT, we'll have to transfer all that money into a VA and we're gonna have to.
Transfer out of overtime into
overtime into
paramedics.
paramedics.
I can work with Jim
And-
next week and
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. Which again, I don't think we.
I don't think it has to be done immediate,
No.
because you got money in there for several months, but probably sooner rather than later, so it's not forgotten as to why.
Don't want you to
And
look
bring
at
up
your
other
budget and pay different than what salary is.
And then the 212,000 is back in the general fund for you guys, correct?
Right, yeah.
That's from the previous year, so that doesn't,
That's,
yeah, that doesn't
Which
show it.
part of that goes into rainy day fund.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping I can have enough on this year's budget. I think operations can cover some of the payroll issues if there's a imbalance, so.
Okay,
Okay. We have a motion to accept the.
I made a motion to accept the
Is
salary.
there a second? Jeff seconded. Problem. Any other discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Does any of the department heads have anything else? Want to talk about? That's.
Have time for me to ask.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just like, I was saying, it's okay to see anyone today. So we kind of spring, and I want to thank you again, the courtroom's great, everyone is just so pleased with it, we opened it up. And I do want to thank Bill Pedro, because he saved us a tremendous amount of money and, took his time off and did so much, is continuing to do a lot for us at a huge savings to the county, so I appreciate that very much. I had asked Tradecraft a couple months ago for an estimate on the back hallway or the walls in the program, they have gotten that.
me yet, and so I have been very frugal with my funds, and I haven't really done this before, so I don't know how to do it, and but I have money left in there from this year. And I have an old estimate for that back hauling. When I say old, it was earlier this year, I think. But I would like to encumber that money that I've strengthened in my budget if I can to use it. To pull the wall people off of those last few walls if they're in the courtroom or depending on what the estimate, the new estimate comes in at. That means if I add that and very, very frugal again next year, if I combine that, I won't have to ask for. Additional appropriate from you all to do that.
How much do you have to encumber and what was the approximate estimate in the old estimate?
Well, the old estimate was 24,000. And that was just for that back hallway. I would like to encumber anything and everything I can in those line items that I haven't spent on. I think it'll total probably around 11,000 that I could encumber this year towards it. And this year's from 25 budget and I think that I'll be good. But
I think you have to have an actual bill.
I have a bill for services that they've done.
Yeah, you can verify that, but I think you can only encumber funds if you have an actual bill. Isn't that correct?
I believe we have to have at least an invoice or something.
And yes,
I can't have just an estimate. I don't do these, so.
I don't think so. You can check with state board,
I
of
can
accounts,
hear
but I'm pretty sure you gotta have an actual invoice.
Okay.
So,
I'll call them. Okay.
and if you do,
Well.
just remind us of what you've turned back and.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because they wouldn't give me a bill first. They're going to give me an estimate. So I don't know how I would get in front of that. Okay.
We'll just have to go with that next year.
Sorry. Well, and I still want to thank you. The courtrooms, it's the difference between night and day. So. That's all I have. I'm not asking everybody else.
Have you folks ever put a value on a director's vehicle they drive?
No.
And the information that Amber gave was not really what I wanted.
I see that.
But the bottom line, what it would be after 10 years.
I don't think
And
anybody
apparently
can give us
you have
that.
to Come up with that.
Well, because the state sets that rate, and, you know, they're jumping it way up for next year, but then the next year after that.
But it's gonna be a far cry from 7.9 million.
Sounds like the solar companies keep trying to dwindle it down as much as possible by appealing and.
It's the updated salary ordinance.
About-
Before you sign it.
You got the minutes, do you?
Yeah, they're right here.
There.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn. Yeah,
There's them.
have a second. Second by Jim.
Who was the?
Jess made the motion, Jim second. We're adjourned. Thanks, guys.
To approve the salary ordinance? No.